I didn't mean to find anything. That's the part I kept replaying later when my brain tried to frame what happened as snooping or spying. I wasn't doing any of that. I was sitting cross-legged on our sagging couch on a rainy Sunday, trying to free up space on Liam's overstuffed phone before it crashed again. "Back up everything to the cloud," he'd said that morning, tossing me his phone on the way out the door. "You're the tech wizard. Just don't let it explode." He'd kissed my forehead, grabbed his keys, and gone to meet his brother for brunch. It was supposed to be an ordinary day. Laundry, grocery list, maybe a movie later if we felt ambitious. I plugged his phone into my laptop, opened the backup software, and started scrolling through the endless sea of images. Screenshots of memes, badly lit food photos, accidental pocket shots of the floor. Half of them had my face in them. Me holding up a new plant, me laughing with my head tipped back, me pretending to be annoyed at his camera. It felt sweet, seeing my life reflected back through his eyes. And then the app hiccuped. A little notification popped up. "Duplicate folder detected. Review before skipping." I clicked, thinking it was just the camera roll being mirrored somewhere. Instead, a new directory appeared near the bottom, named with an unhelpful string of numbers and letters. Not hidden, not private, just generic. I should have ignored it. But my hand moved on its own, trackpad grazing down. Double click. The first thumbnail that loaded was just a blur of cream and gold. It could have been curtains, or maybe a tablecloth. I clicked again to enlarge it. It was Liam. He was standing by a hotel window, light pouring around him, dressed in a soft champagne silk robe tied loosely at the waist. The fabric caught the sunlight, outlining the shape of his shoulders, the shadow of his collarbone. His hair was mussed, his head tipped back slightly as if caught mid-laugh. Behind him, slightly out of focus, was another man in a matching robe. Darker hair, a faint beard, hand resting on Liam's waist like it had always belonged there. My mouth went dry. For a second I thought it was some artsy joke like those staged couple shots people recreated with friends. But the next photo killed that theory. In the second one, they were closer. The other man, Noah, I would later learn, had one hand cupping Liam's cheek, thumb brushing his jaw. Their foreheads were touching, eyes closed. Intimate. Tender. In the third, they were kissing. Not an exaggerated makeout. Not something meant to shock. Just a soft, unhurried kiss. Both of them leaning in like they'd done it 100 times and still couldn't quite believe they were allowed. My stomach flipped. My first thought was bizarrely practical. So he's definitely not straight. The second arrived as a tidal wave. He's kissing someone who isn't me. I stared at the screen, the edges of the photo blurring as my eyes filled. The rain outside might as well have been static. I suddenly understood why people described their world as shattering. It wasn't that everything exploded, it was that all your familiar pieces came loose and you didn't know where to put them back. A part of me wanted to slam the laptop shut, yank the cord out, pretend I hadn't seen anything. Another part wanted to keep scrolling, to find evidence, context, something that would explain how we'd gotten here without me noticing. I scrolled. More photos. Liam and Noah on a balcony, robes replaced by t-shirts, their shoulders pressed together as the sunset bled pink behind them. A selfie of them in an elevator, both slightly smudged with eyeliner, grinning like conspirators. A blurry shot of 2 silk robes tossed over a chair, sleeves tangled. I sat back in my chair, hand pressed over my mouth. I'd always thought of cheating in straight, sharp lines. Lipstick on collars, secret texts, receipts from places I'd never been. I hadn't prepared for this, for the softness of it, for the way Liam looked genuinely happy in those shots, open in a way I'd only seen glimpses of. After a long, shaking breath, I closed the folder. The backup program was still running, oblivious. Little blue bars crept across the screen, carrying my relationship to the cloud 1 gigabyte at a time. I could have deleted the folder right there, erased the photos and pretended they never existed, kept the knowledge lodged like a splinter only I could feel. Instead, I did something I didn't fully understand until later. I picked one photo, the one of them forehead to forehead, eyes closed, foreheads touching like a prayer, and sent it to the printer. The machine in the corner whirred to life. Paper slid through, ink spreading the image into existence. When it was done, the photo was warm in my hand, the edges still slightly curled. I didn't crop Liam out. I didn't scribble on it or write "explain" in angry red letters. I just laid it in the center of our dining table, weighed down with the salt shaker so it wouldn't curl. Then I sat on the couch and waited. My brain tried to run classification exercises. Was this betrayal? Yes. Was it about him being attracted to men? No, not really. Was I angry? Yes. Hurt? Absolutely. Was I curious? More than I wanted to admit. My phone buzzed an hour later. Liam. Brunch ran long. Heading home now. You okay? I stared at the text, fingers hovering over the keyboard. Then I typed. Me. Yeah. We need to talk when you get in. There was a pause. Then, Liam. Okay. Should I be worried? I didn't answer. Some things couldn't be typed. When his key finally turned in the lock, I felt like I was watching a movie of my own life. He came in balancing a cardboard coffee tray, hair damp from the rain, cheeks flushed from the cold. Hey, Tess, he called. I brought you a latte. They were out of almond milk, but... He stopped. His eyes had landed on the table. I watched his body react before his brain caught up. His shoulders stiffened. His breath hitched. The cardboard tray sagged in his hands. Where did you get that? He asked, voice thin. I was backing up your phone, I said. My voice surprised me with its steadiness. The folder wasn't labeled very well. We just stood there for a moment, both of us staring at the photo like it might rearrange itself if we waited long enough. He set the coffee tray down with exaggerated care. One of the cups tipped and smeared a crescent of foam on the cardboard. Tessa, he said, finally looking at me. His eyes were wide, pupils blown. I can explain. I let out a short, humorless laugh. Everyone keeps saying that in movies. It never goes well. He half winced, half smiled. Even in that moment, my heart twisted at the familiarity of it. Okay, I said. Try anyway. He sank into a chair, elbows on the table, hands hovering awkwardly near the photo without touching it. I took the chair opposite him, the distance between us suddenly measured in more than just inches. That's Noah, he said, gesturing loosely to the man in the picture. He's a friend. From the conference in Chicago last fall. And, from some other things. I swallowed. Some other things like kissing and matching robes? Color rose in his cheeks. Yeah, that too. Are you gay? I asked, the word heavy but not accusatory. Just necessary. He flinched. I don't think so, he said slowly. I love you. I'm attracted to you. That's real. But I might be bi. I've been avoiding saying it out loud, but there it is. The sentence hung between us, fragile and dense at the same time. How long have you known? I asked. He exhaled, a long breath that seemed to come from somewhere deep. Since forever, I guess. I had crushes on boys and girls in high school and just told myself I was overly friendly. In college, there was this guy on my soccer team. He shook his head. Doesn't matter. I kept stuffing it down, because it felt easier. Simpler. Easier for who? I asked, a sharper edge sneaking into my voice. For everyone, he said quietly. For my family. For me. And yeah, for you. When we got together, I told myself it didn't matter. I had you. That was enough. I could just not look at the rest. And then Noah, I said. He nodded. His gaze dropped back to the photo, like it held coordinates he hadn't meant to follow. We met at the hotel bar, he said. He was at the same conference. We started talking about stupid stuff. Travel, work, bad coffee. I wasn't planning anything. But he saw me. Or at least, he saw this part of me I had buried. Somehow he just knew without me saying much. And he said he was bi and out, and tired of pretending otherwise. And he rubbed his face. I wanted that. Just for a minute. To not pretend. So you kissed him, I said. Eventually, he said. Not the first night, or the second. We just talked at first. It felt like oxygen. Then one night we ended up on the hotel balcony with too much whiskey, and he asked if he could kiss me. And I said yes before I could think of all the reasons I should say no. And you kept seeing him, I said. He nodded. A few times? When our trips lined up. It's not like we're living a secret double life. But yeah, we've met up, talked, worn matching ridiculous silk robes apparently. A sad, short laugh. He thought it was romantic. I thought it was stupid. Until it wasn't. Tears pricked again. Why didn't you tell me? His jaw clenched. Because I was a coward. Because I didn't know how to say, hey, I might be attracted to men too, and also I've caught feelings for one, and also I'm terrified of losing you. Because I told myself it would pass. Or that it wasn't serious. And then it was serious. And it felt too late. So you chose to lie, I said. Yes, he said. The word came out small. I chose to lie. We sat in silence. Outside, a car splashed through a puddle. Our neighbor's dog barked at nothing. I'm not angry that you might be bi, I said eventually. I'm angry that you decided I couldn't handle knowing. That you made that choice for me. And that you took something sacred, our trust, and snuck around behind it. I know, he whispered. His eyes were shining. You're right. I'm so sorry. Do you love him? I asked. The question felt like sticking my hand directly into a flame. He closed his eyes. When he opened them, there was no point in pretending. I think I might, he said. Not the way I love you. It feels different, softer, scarier in some ways, safer in others. He understands this part of me in a way I never let anyone else. But you're my home, Tess. My person. That hasn't changed. It kind of has, I said. You just added a second person to the mix without asking. He flinched like I'd slapped him, but he didn't deny it. Do you want to be with him instead of me? I asked, bracing myself. No, he said immediately. It's not one or the other in my head. That's part of what's been so confusing. I didn't stop loving you when I started loving him. I just expanded, I guess, in a really irresponsible, selfish way. I let out a shaky breath. A new, unwelcome word crept into my brain. Polyamory. I'd read think pieces about it, seen friends try and fail to make it work. It always sounded like advanced relationship math, and I was barely passing basic monogamy at the moment. So where does that leave us? I asked. He looked at me helplessly. Where do you want it to leave us? I didn't exactly have boyfriend might be bi with a secret boyfriend on my 5-year plan, I said. I don't have a ready-made answer. We spent the rest of the day talking, then arguing, then circling back to talking. The rain outside turned to drizzle, then stopped. At some point, the sky darkened and streetlights flickered on, but we stayed rooted to our chairs. I asked everything. How long he'd felt this way, whether he'd been safe. Who else knew? If he'd imagined bringing Noah into our shared life or keeping the two worlds separate forever. He answered as honestly as he could, his shame sitting between us like a fourth presence at the table. That night, we slept in the same bed but on opposite edges, a gulf of unsaid words stretching between us. I stared at the ceiling and tried to imagine a future where I could look at him without seeing that photo burned on my retinas. Over the next week, the conversation continued in fragments. In the kitchen while we made coffee. In the car on the way to work. On a park bench where teenagers loitered and a dog tried to eat a pigeon. Sometimes we cried. Sometimes we laughed at the absurdity of my algorithm recommending me bisexual TikToks now. Sometimes we sat in silence, letting the weight of it all settle. One evening, as the sun slid low and turned our living room golden, I said, I don't want to be the morality police about who you're allowed to love, but I also don't know if I can share you. That's fair, he said quietly. You shouldn't have to if you don't want to. But if I say it's him or me, I said, I'll always wonder which part of you I forced into hiding again. And I don't like that version of myself either. He looked at me with something like awe. How are you being this generous about all this? I'm not a saint, I said. I've imagined smashing that photo like 5 times, but I also love you. And I've seen how you look in those pictures. There's a softness there I want you to have. I just don't want it to come at my expense. So what do we do? He asked. I hesitated. Would you be willing for me to meet him? His eyes widened. Meet Noah? Yes, I said, heart pounding. If he's going to exist in this space between us, I need to see who he actually is. Not just the guy in silk robes in my worst imagination. He swallowed hard. I can ask him, but only if you're sure. I'm not sure of anything, I said. But I know I can't make a decision about our future based on pixels. A week later, I found myself sitting in a small cafe across from the man who had upended my life. Noah was not what I'd expected. He was lanky, with gentle brown eyes and a nervous energy that matched my own. He stirred his coffee so much I was surprised it didn't spill. Hi, he said, voice soft. You must be Tessa. This is weird. Extremely, I agreed. We both laughed, which helped. He didn't try to charm me. He didn't defend himself. He apologized, formally and sincerely, for the role he'd played in the deception. He also talked about his own history. Years of denying who he was, a bad breakup, how meeting Liam had felt like finding another version of myself I didn't know was missing. At first, it was just nice to have a bi friend, he said. Someone to swap stories with. But then I realized I was looking forward to his messages too much. And I knew about you. He talked about you all the time. How smart you are. How you always beat him at Scrabble. How you sing off-key in the shower. I didn't want to be the reason that got ruined. You went along with it anyway, I said. Yes, he said simply. Because I'm selfish too. And lonely. And I thought... He broke off, then forced himself to continue. I thought maybe he'd leave you. And then I hated myself for wanting that. The honesty of it sliced through me. There was no villain here, just 3 flawed people crashing into each other's unmet needs. After an hour, I realized something. I didn't hate Noah. If anything, I understood why Liam loved him. He was kind, funny in a low-key way. When he talked about queer community and the relief of being seen, his eyes lit up with the same spark I saw in Liam's in that photo. Do you love him? I asked Noah, echoing my earlier question to Liam. He nodded, throat working. I do, but I never wanted to steal him. That's not the story I want to be in. I sipped my coffee, staring out the window at people walking dogs, carrying groceries, living their unremarkable lives. I wondered how many of them were also holding impossible choices in their chests. I don't know if I can do this, I said. Whatever this is, being okay with my boyfriend loving someone else. You don't have to, Noah said quickly. If you want me out of the picture, I'll go. I'll move, delete his number, whatever you need. I won't fight you on it. You were here first. You're his home. The words, out of the picture, landed heavily. I imagined Liam back in that emotional closet, stuffing down his truth to keep our lives tidy. I imagined him resenting me for it later, even if he didn't mean to. I don't want to be the villain in your coming out story, I said slowly. Or his. But I also need to protect myself. Of course, Noah said. You should. On the walk home, my brain felt like a chalkboard full of equations. Monogamy, polyamory, bi-erasure, self-respect, trust. None of it fit neatly. Liam was waiting on the couch when I got back, twisting his hands. How did it go? He asked. Strange, I said. Human. Sad. He nodded, eyes searching mine. Do you have a decision? I took a long breath. I can't pretend this didn't break something, I said. It did. It's going to take time to rebuild trust if we even can. And I can't promise I'll be okay sharing you forever or that I won't have days where I resent the hell out of both of you. His face fell, but he nodded. I understand. But, I continued, I also can't ignore the fact that all three of us care about each other in different ways, and that what hurt me most wasn't that you love him, it was that you lied. If we're going to try to fix this, it has to be with radical honesty. No more hidden folders. He swallowed. What does that look like? Practically? We try something, I said. Tentatively. You and I stay together. We date while we heal. You also see Noah, but everything is on the table. I know when you're with him. He knows when you're with me. No surprises, no overlapping lies. If at any point it's too much for me or for you or for him, we stop and reassess. That sounds complicated, he said. It is, I said. But so is pretending you're straight and monogamous when you're not. A small, watery smile tugged at his mouth. Fair point. And we go to therapy, I added. Together at first. Maybe individually. Maybe with Noah eventually, if that makes sense. We don't try to wing this on vibes alone. He laughed, a genuine sound for the first time in days. Definitely not on vibes alone. So? I asked. Is that something you want to try? Or would you rather pick one of us and close the door on the other? He didn't hesitate. I want to try, he said. I want to do the hard, messy work with you. And with him if he's willing. I don't want to hide any more, Tess. From you or from myself. Tears blurred my vision. I stepped forward, and he stood up so fast the coffee table rattled. We met in the middle, arms wrapping around each other in a hug that was less romantic and more like two people clinging to the same piece of wreckage after a shipwreck. I'm still hurt, I murmured into his shoulder. I know, he said. I'll spend as long as it takes trying to earn back your trust, and if I can't, I'll accept that. But thank you for even considering letting me be my whole self. That night, we moved the printed photo from the dining table to the fridge. Not as a trophy. Not as a punishment. As a reminder of what secrecy had cost us. Of the part of Liam I was choosing, however cautiously, to make space for. Of the fact that love could expand in ways I hadn't planned, without erasing what was already there. Some mornings, seeing it still stings. Some days, I think about ripping it down. Other days, I catch myself noticing the way Liam's face looks softer now, even when he's just making coffee in sweatpants. Like he's carrying a little less weight. We're still in the middle of it. There are hard conversations and small victories and awkward calendar negotiations. I've had to face my own insecurities, my own ideas about what partnership should look like. But for now, my future does include his other love. Not as a replacement, not as a threat, but as another complicated human we're both learning how to fit into our lives. It's not the story I thought I was in when I hit back up to cloud that rainy Sunday. It might, however, be the truest one.